And when you can step out of that, and it's hard, believe me, I'm not perfect by any means. I've cried many a tear through some pretty tough struggles. But when you could just say, let go and let God, it's an incredible feeling.
The right conversation can change everything. This is Mirror Talk, Soulful Conversations.
Today on Mirror Talk, Soulful Conversations, we welcome a former CEO and president of Blue Bell Creameries and best-selling author of One Scoop at a Time. After 45 years of faithful service, he now describes his chapter not as retirement, but as being refired. His story is one of leadership, purpose, faith, resilience, and learning to trust God through both mountaintops moments and valleys. Ricky, welcome to Mirror Talk. It's a blessing to have you here. How are you doing?
Well, I'm doing great, Toby, and thank you so much for this opportunity. Your show is fascinating and very, very thought-provoking, and so it's an honor to be on today.
Thank you so much for joining me for Soulful Conversations, and thank you, because this conversation, I believe, will be, adding up to the catalog of thoughtful and thought-provoking conversations that we have on the podcast. So I feel blessed to be here right now. Thank you so much. Yes.
That sounds good.
So talking about thought-provoking conversations, before we jump into it, I'd like us to get to know you through some thought-provoking questions through our wildcard, questions that we have here. So it's a game of wild cards, 3 stacks of cards. Level 1 is the icebreakers level. As I'm speaking with you right now, believe me, I'm shuffling a stack of cards already under the table, and I get to pick a card randomly and ask you the question on it. I'll do that for level 2 also, and also for level 3, and that will we just get to know you through 3 random questions. Are you ready?
Sounds good. Yes. Do I get a call a friend or? No, I'm kidding.
Unfortunately not. You're on your own right now.
I'm on my own. Okay.
You're on your own. I'm so sorry,
All right.
Ricky.
Let's do this. That sounds good.
Okay. Level 1, icebreakers. The question is, who is a person that uplifts your spirit? How?
Wow, that's a great question. And so I guess obviously we're talking about human here, someone on earth. My my immediate thought was, of course, my wife, who's my partner in crime per se. At the same time, biggest cheerleader and supporter. What I love is her honesty. You can't hide from your spouse, meaning that they know you better than you know yourself, even at times. And so to be able to get honesty and yet sincerity in her answers, I think that I'm very blessed with a wife that does support and truly makes that connection. Probably in my earlier days would have said my father. My father was a very, very inspirational, filled with wisdom. I've shared, as I've given my testimony, I had wonderful parents that taught me how to have a relationship with Jesus Christ, not just to attend or check a box by going to church, but how to walk with Jesus. And Mom was my prayer warrior. Dad was my wisdom go-to. So I gave you 3 answers to the question, but today both my mother and father have passed away. But again, I'm very blessed to have a spouse that truly not just loves me, but loves the Lord, and is a good rock to cling to.
That's awesome. That's really beautiful. And I mean, it's a blessing to have people that around you that support you in every area, and also being a man of faith and a Christian, have people around you that helps you to even strengthen your faith in God also. That's something that's wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, she keeps you honest, or a true friend will do the same. They're not going to just agree with you to agree with you. It's as we journey together, iron sharpens iron. I've got some great friends, men that are mentors that I meet with. So I'm very blessed. There's no question. But you said one, and so I had to go to the top.
Yes, I like that.
I had to go to the top.
Going the extra mile. That's good.
That's right. That's right.
Are you ready for level 2? This is confessions.
Okay. Yes. I think
it has been easy so far. So I guess I hope this won't be easy too. Okay. Let's see. What is your biggest struggle right now?
Oh man, these are good questions. I guess we can't go back to icebreakers. No, I'm kidding. I would say my biggest struggle right now is I've been retired for a little over 2 years. And after working with Blue Bell Creameries, or I call my extended family, for so long, to step into the retirement as we want to call it that. I think I love the word refire instead of
Mm.
retire. I feel like this season in my life is probably the most crucial. I'm in the fourth quarter, and so I'm ready to give everything I have left. So when I get to the clock and it says 0, 0, 0 across, I've given everything there is that I can give. But what I've found in this early stage of refirement is learning a rhythm, because every day is so different. Now, if you'd have said, "What do you do at Blue Bell every day?" I would have probably given you the same answer, but there was a lot more structure to it. You knew it, your vision and your goals, and then you start at this time and you work through the day. You stop for lunch at this time. Today could be a podcast. Tomorrow could be going to a 5-year-old's gymnastic competition, and then the next day we're going to another state to give a talk or a lecture on leadership, or just my faith. So finding that rhythm is probably what, I don't want to say I'm struggling with it, but it's just a new season of life that's it's not mapped out as neatly as where I've come from. So anyway, it's fun. It's just a lot different.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that. A lot of us struggle with, changes in life and what's those challenges that transition brings with life, because sometimes for a phase in our lives, we are used to a particular way of doing things, and all of a sudden we move into the next phase, or not, maybe sometimes it will even be planned. I move into the next phase, but it comes with its own changes that we have to adapt to again, change to, and that comes with a lot of struggles. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you for that.
You bet.
Yeah.
The good news is I keep going.
Yes,
So,
yes.
it's not a complaint. Normally confessions are, I'm really, I want to confess I've done something, not necessarily right or wrong. In this case, it's just finding that rhythm, finding that, God, what do you have for me today? And it's maybe not as tangible looking as what it used to look like. Having an impact on individuals that I'm around are probably harder to, if I wanted to say I want to measure that in terms of measurement. And God doesn't say that. He just says, serve me in the areas that I've asked for you to serve. And so if it's with that 5-year-old or 12-year-old, that 14-year-old, I've got 8 grandchildren, so I can pick an age almost and hit that box.
Yes.
But you're making an impact, and rest in that.
That's beautiful. Wow. Are you ready for the last wildcard question?
Yes, I think so.
Level 3, getting deep.
Okay, getting deep. Let's do this.
Deep. Yes. And the question is, who is a stranger you will always remember? A stranger you will always remember.
Oh, man, that is getting deep. So this is someone that I've not actually met, but somebody I can either say that I've seen from afar, or some maybe there's a particular person that I have never met that's at my church that it seems like they are living out what their calling is truly to be. They're humble, but yet they are very impactful in the way they serve. And so when you ask that, I don't know, his face came to my mind. So I'm going straight to going deep, and that's what the first thing that I saw.
Yes.
We don't realize the impact that we have. People are watching us from all around. And so he doesn't have a clue that I'm even talking about him, because I've never met him. But I will tell you that from what I see, there's something about the Christ-like example that he portrays that says, wow, that's so cool. And so that would have to be my answer. I wish I could give you a better description other than he's faithful, he's there, and I see what he does, and I hear what he does through others. And so that would be my answer.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I mean, the people that we never even had real contact with that still impact us in one way or the other, or touch us in one way or the other. Yeah. That's it. Wow,
it's a great question, though. It's a great question, because
I mean,
you normally would think like someone on TV or sports figure, and those will come to my mind as well. But I think that we're all human at the same time, so you got to be careful to set anyone too high onto that pedestal, because in life we fail each other, but at the same time, it's getting back on our knees and asking for forgiveness and being the kind of example that we strive to be. And so this was a little safer, even though it was a great deep question.
Thank you so much for answering those wildcard questions. I really appreciate it. It's a way to just get to know you. Now I know that there's a stranger you met outside of the church that, that touched you. And I would like us to jump in already from this second card that you answered. You talked about this new phase of life that you're in right now, and you finding your new rhythm basically, and being refired, like you said right now, not retired but refired. And you describe this season of your life as not retirement, but as being refired. And that word, when I read it for the first time, I was like, wow, okay, I must ask Ricky what this means. Like, what does it mean to be refired? Like, in your personal life, in your spiritual life, in purpose, like, what does that mean?
Well, to me, what it means is that for so many, as you grow through your life or move through your life, you keep thinking one day I'm going to retire and travel and sit on the back porch and read a good book and have a cup of coffee, and all those are wonderful things. Don't get me wrong, but I do not believe that we are commanded to one day just stop doing and just relaxing. I think the Great Commission says to go out and make disciples, and so to follow what God has planned, and not really knowing what that is. So let me back up. I found my journey to Blue Bell through chasing a girl to Baylor University. The first week we got there, we broke up, and so now I'm at Baylor. Not that that was a bad thing. In fact, it turned out to be a tremendous thing. I love my time at Baylor, but I had to write a report on a company on how they relate to consumers. And I called my dad, and he was reading an article about this little ice cream company down in Brenham, Texas. And so that girlfriend got me to the university, that got me to the class, that got me to what I believe is God one scoop at a time. And that's where the name of my book came from, to that company. And so people said, okay, you're right at 65, but why are you retiring now? And I said, well, I used the analogy a minute ago of the fourth quarter. I still think that God has plans for me and things for me to do that are unknown. Whereas when we're young, we pick a career and it's more defined. This season is more undefined, but yet is more flexible to be able to adapt and to move in a way that I wouldn't be able to if I was still working for a company. And so I didn't want to wait till I couldn't do things other than what I was doing. And so it was the perfect time for me and for the company as we transitioned out of our season of what we went through back in 2015, serving as the president and CEO for the 7 years that I did. I felt like this is really a great time to segue into this fourth quarter, meaning that, okay, God, now what do you have for me? And so refire means go with energy, go with strength, be prepared, get up at the same time you've been getting up and ready to give it your all. And so I've dove into mentorship at both Baylor University and Oklahoma Baptist University, where I'm working with students and through their mentoring programs. And then I'm also working with both of the business schools and helping in any way that I possibly can in an advisory board type of thing.
Yeah.
But going all over promoting, not just promoting the book, because the book is kind of the side. And when I say that, it's a fun book that talks about my life and what God's done, but how you find peace in the middle of a storm was really what the heart and soul of the book was about, and how that's opened doors, because we're all going to go through struggles. We're all going to, at some point in time, have something that we're really faced with. And so how do you get to a point where you have peace, that in the middle of that storm, you're able to know that God's got this? And so I gave a long and kind of a roundabout answer to how to refire. But I've got gas in the tank still, and I want to go until, we just don't have it anymore. And I want to do it with enthusiasm. I want to do it with passion. And whatever that is, I'm ready to do it.
Yes. Just keep on doing it until, God calls you back home and say, yeah, now it's time for you to go home. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
And what you said right now, just made me remember one thing that, I was listening to a sermon a while back, and we were talking about, the graveyard is filled with so much talent, so much potential, so much, visions that, just went to waste. And during the sermon, they were like, okay, it's better for you to empty it all before you go into the grave, like finish it or fulfill everything you have to fulfill, and to just waste it. And when you were talking about, life is filled with so much challenges, and we want peace in our lives, and we have to go to God. One thing that's come to my mind is, okay, for me to go through life with peace, even though there are challenges everywhere and trouble everywhere, is to take it one scoop at a time. Sometimes sometimes we just want to put all of life into our mouth and try to chuckle it all in. But sometimes it's not just good to take one scoop at a time, one step
Yeah.
at a time, and everything will be fine.
No, that's good. And I think that's a great way of putting it because we can try to overload ourselves, go with the
Mm,
3 or 4 dips. I do like to say there's some seasons of life it's plain, it's homemade vanilla per se. And when I say that's a great base to work from,
mm.
then we're going to have our rocky roads to go
Yeah.
through. But
Yes.
at this, to cross the great divide into to heaven one day, but to do it in the way that God's laid out before us, because there's so much in us that wants it, but we want it now. We live in a very instant world today. If I
Mm,
want information today, it doesn't take me just a second to go find it on a device that has everything. Whereas growing up, working on a research paper meant going and finding the information at a library or an encyclopedia, but it made you dig harder, it made you dig deeper. And so I think that you're right to take it one day at a time and enjoy
yes.
it and take it in because you never know when that last day is going to come. And so make
Mm.
the most out of every day.
Make the most out of every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Ricky, from, spending 43 years at Bluebell, and then you had to step away from such a significant chapter, I'd just like to learn, like, what did that teach you? Stepping away from that chapter of your life, what did it teach you about, your life, yourself personally? What did it teach you about identity beyond title, position, or even achievements in
Mm.
life?
Well, the whole journey was an incredible journey. Like I said, I felt very, very fortunate that I applied for the company, even though we started back in 1907 as a little
Mm,
butter company. I came on January 1st of 1981. So we had a lot of history underneath us, but yet we were still very, very young as a company. And so to jump on board and to ride that for as length the time with one company and to see all the changes that took place was just an incredible, incredible journey. But what I found through that, and I tell this in my book and I share this, there was a season in life that I was asked to move away from my safe zone. I was in San Antonio. I was close to mom and dad. I was close to all my brothers and my sister and all their families.
mm,
And we were moving out of Texas to move to Oklahoma. And part of that could be that one day this new region or promotion would come. And so I struggled. Do I stay where it's safe or do I go where I think God's asking me to go? But yet that caveat of, well, it's a promotion too. So it's not all bad. And so I took the challenge. I believe that's exactly what God had planned is for me to leave and to step out by faith. But I got real consumed with that carrot of promotion and the days turned into weeks and months and really years, and I wasn't hearing anything. And then finally got a phone call. We're having a big meeting with all management. They wanted to see me after this meeting, and I'm thinking, this is it. This is
mm,
when this new big promotion's coming. Boy, got through dinner, went into the room where we were supposed to meet, and I could tell immediately that this was not one of those. There wasn't any, parades or balloons or anything. This was a
yeah.
very true heart to heart. And in that 45 minutes, I remember the 1.5 pages of handwritten notes on things that I needed to be working on that I'd failed to be working on and things that I, what used to do that I wasn't doing. And so I
Mm,
thought, boy, this was not what I was expecting at all. And I went back to the hotel room and sat at the end of the bed. And I remember very distinctively saying, God, I thought I came here for your purpose. I thought this is where you brought me. I thought I'm doing everything you've asked me to do. And in that little, I don't want to say pity, but very, very transparent, honest uh, conversation with God, I felt through my spirit him saying, look, I didn't bring you here for a promotion. I brought you here for my purpose. And when I heard it that way, that look, he's got something different than what in my mind, or what the world would say, because you want to move up, you want the title, you want to, continue to grow, but yet you don't want to get ahead of what God is doing. And so, really, about 6 years of that window passed. When that promotion came, it went to somebody else. I had at that time had moved from sales over to the production side. I'm actually overseeing a manufacturing plant versus overseeing a region of salesmen. But what's really beautiful about this story is 20 years later, when I'm
mm,
in the boardroom and our president before me is retiring, they turned and said, we would like for you to take over as president. One of the first
mm,
things that came to my mind was if I could look back at those 6 years running the plant and
yes.
getting that full experience of what he had planned,
Mm,
I was so thankful that I stayed faithful and didn't try to get a title over what he had for me. And so I got lucky. I'll be honest. I'm human and I make a lot of mistakes, but it was real easy to look back and say, wow, you were shaping, forming, and making me when I could not see you. I knew you were there and I trusted you. And this is, like say 20 years later, put me in a position to be able to say, yes, I will accept that position. So again, a long answer to a great question, but it's so much more than a title. It's being faithful for what God has for you. And as long as he's being glorified, the positions mean nothing. It takes everybody to make it succeed.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, that wonderful story of yours just reassured me right now that God always has my back, always has our back, no matter what we are going through. Like sometimes we could be going through pain or disappointment or failure or whatnot. But if we do not give up and we still keep on trusting in God, He definitely has a plan for us, and He has our best interests
That's
at
right.
heart, basically. And no matter how, the course of life takes us, it's going to end up to be for our own good and for
That's
His
right.
own glory at the end of the day.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Totally believe that with all my heart.
Mm.
We are part of a puzzle that's being worked, and we don't have the picture on the box, but God does. And so our job is to be faithful as the piece that goes into the slot. And sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes it's painful. Sometimes, there's going to be a lot of questions when I get to heaven and say, what were you doing here? I mean, I'm lost.
Yeah.
But it's all about faith and trust. And Hebrews talks about how do you please the Father is having faith and just trusting. And so it's hard sometimes, but we get to that point where we let go and let God. The peace then comes in, and that's an incredible time.
Let's go and let's God, then peace will come in. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I was about to ask you, that, how do I stay faithful? How do I stay on course even though I'm experiencing failure? But I think once I believe that God, I should let God just take control, then I'll be able to, go through the trial period without fidgeting or without, doubting God. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I call it kind of the second wind. I used to run track and I was a distance runner, and I would run until I was just about ready to drop. And then all of a sudden I'd get what they call the second wind. And it's like all of a sudden I feel like I have even more energy than I did when I first started. And I could continue the race. And I think that trials that come into our life, we run as hard as we can to the point of exhaustion. But when we finally let go and let God, again, I go back to that. It's that same experience that the disciples, when they're on the boat and the waves are crashing over and Jesus is down below asleep, and they wake him up and say, don't you care we're going to die? Because that's how we feel when we're in trials. And he immediately just stops. I mean, he doesn't just slow the wind down. Everything goes calm. And he goes, "You a little faith." And I don't think that was criticism. He was like saying, "Look, you're with the creation of the creator of the world. You're with the Son of God, and just trust." And I really believe that when we get to that point, that's that second wind or no wind, if you want to keep the analogy with the scripture, that, man, if he can sleep in the storm, then I'm going to curl up next to him. And I'm going to rest knowing that he's still in control.
Yeah.
And when that finally you get to that point and it's hard to explain to people, but look, this is horrible. I mean, and there's horrible pain that's in the world. But at the same time, that's the world in which we live, and it's the choices that we made all the way back to the very beginning. That's that we're, I don't want to say inherited by, but that second wind, there's not a better feeling knowing you're right where God has you for a purpose. And when you can step out of that, and it's hard, believe me, I'm not perfect by any means. I've cried many a tear through some pretty tough struggles. But when you could just say, let go and let God, it's an incredible feeling.
Yes, let's go and let God. What you said was very calming, or sounds very calming to me. Like even when we are experiencing the storm of life, and when in the same boat with Jesus Christ, just snuggle up to him and I mean, he's sleeping on the boat. Why can't I just, take a blanket and just, say, okay, let us all sleep on this boat together.
That's right. Well, I've always been amazed with that story because number one, who can sleep on a boat, but asleep in the boat in the middle of a storm, and they have to wake him up. It doesn't say they go down and he's sitting there. They have to actually come on, wake up.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, he's he's creator of the universe. He's right there with his father. And so he knew when they got on the ship where they were going across. The trials make us, as painful as that sounds. And I get asked a lot, if there was one thing in my life that I could erase, just take completely off, what would that be? And I honestly, I've got a list of things that could pop up, but I think it's the trials that have helped define who I am. And I don't think I'd give anything. I don't think I'd give any of those trials up, knowing that during those times, it's helped me develop the faith that I have. And also the trust that he's there. I do share the mountaintop. When you're climbing a mountain, the best view's at the top, but it's usually the smallest or the shortest length of time, because you're going up and then you're at the top and now you're probably coming back down. And then, of course, the valleys are the deepest. But enjoy the journey. Enjoy the journey. And that's why I say stop and look and take in the view, but get back to climbing. And so it's not always easy. But when you get to the point where you apply it, it can make a huge, huge difference in your life. But it starts with accepting Christ, obviously, as your Savior.
Yeah. Talk about the book a little bit and talk about one painful chapter that's deeply refined your faith.
Well, there's definitely been different moments in my life, both personally and professionally, that gravitated to that very thing. Working for Blue Bell was an incredible story, incredible journey, and they're still going strong, which is a definite praise. From a professional standpoint, though, when we did find out in 2015 that Listeria had made it into the product, and how devastating that was, heartbreaking. We like to say we make memories. We don't necessarily make ice cream, because usually when you eat whatever flavor it is, it takes you somewhere. It could be at a picnic, or it could be your grandmother's house. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Blue Bell, although that obviously I was with Blue Bell. But I remember with my family when I was little, Mom and Dad would make the homemade ice cream, and you would take turns cranking the crank, and just how it pulled the family together. And so there's memories associated. And the beautiful thing about ice cream is that you can celebrate it during a good time, or it's also there for you in a not so good time. It can lift your spirits when things aren't very good. So when we got the news about the Listeria, it was devastating. And then the process of, over 100-year-old company now having to face this, and how do we navigate through these rough waters, and can we make it? Can we get to the other side? And truly in our hearts, we believe that, well, if it's of God, then he will guide us through it. Stay on our knees, but at the same time, go humble and do the right things. Own it, go humble, and get it right. And so for the next couple of years, we literally, we tore the floors up, the walls came down, the ceilings, we rebuilt the inside of the factories, brought in experts to help us. And I think we were all learning, because this was very unusual for something like Listeria to be an ice cream. It's a very low risk when it comes to that bacteria, because it's a pasteurized product kept in a minus 20 degree room. And so for it to be there was shocking, alarming to everybody in the industry, not just for us. But during that time, knowing that, nothing's 100%, that at any time, something just like that one phone call that came through can change the whole trajectory of what you may think you're going this direction, and all of a sudden you may be, changing. And that's where the faith came in. That's where you okay, God, after sleepless nights and many a tear, and trying to figure out how do you get it right, how you take care of the 3,500 employees and their families, and also to get that product back to where the consumer will buy it in a way that they don't have to think about anything wrong. I mean, you're talking about ice cream. It should be something you don't even think about. It should be a wonderful thing you sit down and celebrate with. And so I loved, we all came into the room with different backgrounds, I will say, from different faith, walks of faith. For me, it's with Christ. Christ has been my anchor, and I totally, given my heart and my life to him. But the common denominators stem from, let's get it right, and let's do the right thing, and then trust. So here we are, 2026 now, 11 years later. We've come a long way. We're not quite, I would say, with the whole product line that we used to have, but we're back to making memories. We're back to growing into new markets. God has never, it didn't shock God, it just shocked us. But again, relying on him through the really, really dark days strengthened me in a way I don't think if I'd have gone through that, I would be where I am today personally with him. And it just makes me more excited to go out and do all I can for his glory because he has been that faithful.
Yes. God is always faithful. It's
He
always,
really
yeah.
is.
He's always,
Yeah.
from your story, I'm learning already how, even whenever we have fear, based on things, circumstances of life, things that we did not plan for, never want or anticipate, once those fear come up, is a way we can always turn it into faith, like believing in God that is going to come true for us and help us. And also, I think that helps. Please, you can add to this, correct me if I'm wrong. That also helps us to move from anxiety into trust, from having anxiety of
Yes.
life and the uncertainty that life comes with, into just trusting that everything will work out.
That's right. In fact,
Yeah.
that's my I don't want to say my life verse that I live by, but I love the verse that says, "Don't be anxious about anything, but in everything through prayer, petition, and thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your heart and your mind." And that's that second wind I talk about. When you get to that, okay, I can't do anything more, and you let go. It's an incredible peace, even though you're still in the midst of the storm. And that's what I think, again, what motivated me to write the book, because it's when you look back and you can see, okay, I get it now. But when you're in the middle of it, how do you find peace? How do you find when the water is coming over the top and you're trying to bail it out of the boat as best you can? How do you find peace? And that's where trust comes in, and the struggles teach us that.
That's, yeah. How do you find peace? I mean, it's a wonderful thing to know God and to believe in Him,
Right.
because
Yes.
it's a rock upon which we could stand and hold on
I
to,
know.
a pillar that we could hold on to. Yes.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people have different thoughts and views.
Mm.
Mine is to share what I believe in all my heart, my testimony, and what God's done for me through the blood of the cross. I just let God take it from there. But yeah, that's the starting point, obviously.
Yes. Yes, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah, it's the starting point.
I'm very curious to know how you, worked with this, your faith in the business world. Like, I know that your guiding principle is to keep God at the center of everything that you do and
Right.
everything that you say. But in the business leadership, or in the business world in general, how did that conviction shape the way that you led people? How did that believe in God shape the way that you showed up at work and led people?
Yeah, a great question, because it's probably that fine line that you do walk.
Mm,
I didn't go out and preach, from the above as productions or anything like that. And that sounds
mm,
kind of, I don't mean that in a bad way, but you number one want to live what you're describing. I wanted to live my faith out. I know that there's a phrase that says, you should be sharing your faith with everybody at all times, and if you have to use words, then do so. I think that that's true to a point. What I mean by that is I love people. I want to believe in people. I want to invest in people. I don't look at them as employees. I look at us, we're all in this together, regardless of what your position is. And so as I approached every day, it's how can I help you be the best that you can be? And there's some that didn't want that. They just were there. They wanted to punch a time clock and they want to get through the day and they want to punch and go home. But when you can get the attitude and change, look, whatever the position is, to be the very best you can be for you, to improve yourself. I will help you in any way that I can. Those are biblical principles that may not necessarily be one that you have to go out, and lay one, two, three, and four. On the other hand, be open and ready for those conversations as they present themselves.
mm.
Because I do think as a Christian, we are to talk, we are to go out and to share. It's commanded to go out and share. So you don't want to have the double standard, I guess, is where I'm trying to land them back to. Is I don't want someone to look at me and one day go, wow, I didn't even know he liked God.
Mm.
Look, all the actions that I've shown as your leader or as in the positions that I was in, it shouldn't be a surprise. I would hope it'd be that, again, go humble, but go confident in who you belong to. And that's helped me as a manager or someone that's navigating the task that's at hand. But it's a fine line. I think that I've met some great Christian leaders that are very successful, that have gone through a lot in what they do, but they're living their faith. It's not just lip service. It's actually something that they're living day by day. They'll tell you that their failures as well, but they get back up and they get back to God in the best way they know how. It's a great question, though.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I mean, it's not just about saying, "Hey, I'm a Christian," and showing up as a Christian and doing doing the things of a Christian, but showing it in the work that we do, in how we
Right.
deal in our actions, basically.
Actions. Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
in our
exactly
actions.
right.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. And I'm working towards wanting to be a better leader also myself. And for someone like you that's already seen that and done that already, I would like to, dive a little bit deeper into this to, get some word of wisdom from you or knowledge from you. So I'd like to learn about integrity and integrity in the position of being a leader and also in relationships that you have with people, and integrity when it comes to long-term success also, and integrity especially in this kind of world right now where everyone is trying dirty things to get ahead. So from your experience, why is integrity such a powerful foundation for leadership, relationships around, and for long-term success?
Well, my immediate thought as a leader, people are looking to you. They're looking for either guidance or they're looking for direction of what we're supposed to do, and how you present that and how you react, especially in the not so good times, can erode whatever trust that you have built if you start compromising. We work with the Baylor supply chain ethics. We talk about ethics in business, and that's such a fine line again on what some may say is ethical, others may say it's not ethical. I share a story of the price of pecans. Blue Bell was trying to decide, the price went so high that do we keep making it or not? And then the question is, well, why don't we put just maybe not as many pecans in? That way we can balance the price with fewer pecans, or better yet, let's just grind them up and put a third. And the whole story behind that is if you've defined who you are, once you step away from that, you've shown that, okay, if I can cut here, then I can cut here. And you've opened the door for everybody that you're trying to lead to say that you are able to compromise. And so you got to know who you are, and then you got to stay firm and trust that this is my pillar, and I'm not going to compromise these ethics. If it costs the company, it costs the company. But at the same time, you don't want to start eroding the faith of those that you're around, because once you show that hand, it spirals out of control, because they may not know where you can and can't stop or won't stop. So we use that butter pecan story a lot, because we determined that we are not going to cut the amount of pecans that go into a half gallon of butter pecan. That you're used to eating butter pecan with all these big what they call a topper pecan half. We're not going to cut them in half. We're not going to grind them up. We're going to keep making it. If we may not make as much just because it costs so much. And sometimes it could even almost be a break even. But if it's important to make it that way to start with, you stay with it. And that's just a basic example, using butter pecan as the kind of the example. But who you are, probably even more importantly on your own, when you're by yourself, really starts your definition of ethics. And if you can develop a moral code to stay true to it, even when you're on your own, then that radiates to those that are around you as a leader, because they can trust you're not going to take them down a path that's going to, get them into trouble. Doesn't mean we're not human. Doesn't mean that we still are going to make mistakes, but the intent and the heart is to stay as ethical and committed to doing the right thing as you can.
Yes, doing the right thing as you can, and do not try to go through shortcuts and break, do things that you did not say, or say things that you did not do and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, I've learned a lot from you already. My take home is going to be one scoop at a time, and also, which is the title of your book, and also goes very well with ice cream. Now I feel like taking ice cream, honestly.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Well, I mean, not today. Maybe another day I'll have some ice cream to celebrate this conversation.
There we go. Every day's a great day if it's including ice cream. That's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's for sure.
So, I mean, everyone's life, goal is to grow old, to live a fulfilled life. I mean, a lot of people's life goal is to live a fulfilled life. Mine, I would say, let me personalize it to myself. My goal is to live a fulfilled life and to get to an age like yours, to where I move into the fourth quarter of life, and, not retire, sorry, to refire, exactly.
Yes.
To enjoy the second wind of life, basically. So I would like to learn from you. just prepare myself ahead of time already. You've entered yours already with passion and purpose. And for people out there, and for myself too, who would, get there very soon or in the future, what message would you love to leave, for people out there, for myself, to help us not to feel afraid or to feel, that there's so much uncertainty or we're going to be stuck in the valley, when we get there?
Oh, man. Yeah, you've asked some great questions. So thank you for them because they're making me also a really deep dive in my own thoughts. I will sum it up this way, and I'll do this real quick. If I could share, I believe with all my heart, there's 3 P's that I kind of center around. The first is your purpose. I truly believe God has us here for a purpose. And I've shared my story when I found that, okay, it's ice cream, but it's more than ice cream, and be able to work with people. And I never, if looking back, thought that journey would be what it ended up being when I first started way back, now, 45 years ago. But know that God has a purpose. And then in that, as you're navigating that purpose, pray for passion. Mark Batterson's a good friend of mine. He's an author. He's a pastor up in the Washington, D.C. area. And he says, the day you start dying is the day you stop dreaming. And ironically, the day you start living is the day you find a dream worth dying for. And that has stayed with me. I believe that God, okay, if this is your purpose for me, then fill me with a passion. I want to be the very best, whatever that purpose is, because I know I'm locked and loaded for what you have planned for me. But the 3rd P, you got purpose and you got the passion. The 3rd one's the hard one, and that's patience. How do you have patience to be molded and shaped and made into what he has eventually for you? And so I use my story again, sitting on the end of the bed. God, what do you have for me? Well, he had something for me, but it took 20 years down the road before I could really reflect back to say, okay. But I had such peace through those 20 years to think, okay, if this is where you have me, man, I'm all in, because I have a passion, not because of ice cream, but because of the people in which I not only worked around and with, but also the people that we were making and selling ice cream to, and knowing that those were memories that are theirs. Purpose, passion, and patience are kind of dear to me, and just go and go and go until the time on the clock runs out. But in the meantime, don't stop. Be sure to stop and not smell the roses, but eat some ice cream.
Don't just stop to smell the roses. Stop to have some ice cream. Yeah.
There you go. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So that's purpose, patience, and
passion.
And passion. Yes, and passion. Purpose, passion, and patience. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah. And do not just stop to smell the roses. Also stop to have some ice cream. Wow.
That's it.
I've learned so much from you. Thank you so much, Ricky. For people out there who still have more questions to ask you, want to connect with you, get the book, and just have some maybe one-on-one conversation or get engaged with your services, what's the best way to connect and work with you?
Well, I would say, as far as the book, it's on Amazon, one scoop at a time, and is available. That's an easy way to go. I have a website, rickydickson.com. Very simple. It's Dickson. But in that website, there's ways to contact me. I'd love to speak to churches and to men's groups and women's groups and students and anybody that will come into the room, as far as, again, reinvesting back into the lives. You go through life learning, and you said it very elegant with, I didn't say it right. You said it very well. Excuse me for stumbling there. About how much knowledge is in the graveyard, that you don't go through life just to be bottled up and put in a box or put up on the shelf. You go through life and then hopefully to reinvest with those that are coming behind you, so they can continue to reinvest. We live in a broken world, and right now, man, there's a lot of stuff that just can bring a lot of anxiety. But through all that anxiety, there's a Savior named Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's what, to me, it's all about, especially now in this phase. rickydickson.com, one scoop at a time on Amazon would be the 2 ways.
Yes. I'm going to place the link to your website in the show note of this episode. So I encourage everyone out there to reach out to you. Get the book already on Amazon, but on your website, they have all the information that they need to reach out to you, get the book, and, stay engaged with your services also.
Super. No,
thank you so much. Great. It has been a blessing speaking with you. I've learned so much from you. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Toby.
If this conversation resonated with you, consider following or subscribing to Mirror Talk on your favorite podcast platform. You can also support the show by sharing this episode with someone who might need it, and by leaving a 5-star rating. It helps these conversations reach more people who could benefit from them.
Thank you very much.